Don't mess up. This is the perfect way to build the Shadow Army. Let's talk about it. What's good, YouTube? NoGoodEman coming to you today with the Army of Shadows breakdown video. More so, we're talking which shadows do you want to upgrade to general. We're going to talk each and everything in between. We're going to talk the combinations, the Shadow Army lineups, and everything. Before we talk about that though, make sure you guys leave a like on the video. If you're new, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Turn on post notifications so you don't miss a live or an upload. And of course, support your boy on that memorable website. We recently just hit 400 supporters and we cracked top 20 in the creator rankings. So thank you guys so much for supporting. Keep on supporting for those free codes and let's get it rocking and popping. Now, the first thing to talk about is which shadows are important. So what are the shadows that need to be general ranking, guys? I have 3 shadows to talk about. First and foremost, his first shadow, IGRIS. This needs to be a general rank for more than one reason. First of all, it's his first shadow. Let's be loyal. Yes, I'm gonna IGRIS glaze, disclaimer, but guys, Shadow Authority, this is going to increase your critical hit rate by 8%, and this can also be tacked on after your crit cap. So if I look at my son JINWOO right now, hopefully he has 50%. Yes, he has 50% crit rate. IGRIS actually allows me to have 58% crit rate now. So if you attack on IGRIS, he is super good because he gives you that added crit bonus. Also with IGRIS, he has bleed effects in his skills. So he recently actually, the Commander's Touch is his newest skill that he did get at general ranking, and this does bleed, but he initially had a different skill. If I see it, it's one of these right here, Earth Slash. This one does bleed as well. So now he has 2 skills that does bleed. Honestly, pretty good. Proportional damage to an enemy's health. And with that, IGRIS is very good for content when you're in the red. So any content where you're a little bit nerfed, IGRIS will boost you up, guys. So with that, he is a must. The next must shadow that you need to have at general is BIGROCK. You guys already know BIGROCK is probably one of the best shadows in the game. It kind of gets a little skewed with BERU coming through and then with the general upgrades, but BIGROCK is honestly still an essential shadow. With this, he increases the entire team's basic skill damage. So this is very good. Again, if we go back to Son JINWOO, if you guys are familiar with the magnifying slashing meta, you will definitely benefit from still using BIGROCK at general rank because now you have an increased percentage and now it is at 12%, guys. Now, I'll be honest, his new skill doesn't really do too much. It's just mana discharge, so nothing crazy as far as a skill, but his Shadow Authority, you can definitely benefit from that. Now let's talk the boy BERU, the newest shadow. You guys definitely want to get this monster to general, all right? We don't even got to say too much. The boy BERU is honestly super insane, and with his Shadow Authority percentages being a little low, you definitely want to get him as high as possible so you can have that attack and critical hit damage increased by 5%. And I do have a shadow lineup that you'll definitely want to see how I use it. And with that, he has a move, Make Way for His Highness. This does a decent amount of attack compared to a few of the other shadows. Now I know people are saying BERU has a little bit lower attacks, but guys, I must say BERU is a shadow that kind of does it all. So BERU heals, he gives, where's the punishment move? He has punishment, he boosts attack and defense to the entire team. So you guys gotta, we gotta really think about it. Compared to other shadows, I mean, it's not terrible, right? So something to note is also, let's look at some terminology, right? The entire team versus all team members. I don't know, maybe BERU Shadow Authority quite literally boost every single person on the field, shadows included, supports included. So that's something to think about. I think BERU is honestly a very good shadow, and honestly, I don't know why, one Shadow Authority says all team members versus the entire team. Definitely gonna need some clarification. Maybe somebody can test that out. But guys, you definitely want to get BERU to general ranking. Now that we talked about the must-haves, let's go ahead and talk about the ones that I'm not sure about. So there's 3 I'm not sure about. These are actually the next 3. So it's gonna be KAISEL, TUSK, and Blades. But let's go ahead and start with KAISEL. I will consider upgrading KAISEL to general in the case that it's just more meta. I haven't tested it out, so maybe some people in the community can test it out. Now here's what I'll say, KAISEL does have a very good attack increase skill that he will get at the general ranking. So increase the user's attack by 100% for 10 seconds. And then it also does a high amount of damage. And then now ultimate skill damage will increase by 9%. So that's still very good for like your Thomas Andres, for your Charlottes. And with that at a higher percent, you definitely won't regret it. So KAISEL is not a regret. I just don't know which shadow to pull the trigger on because right now I have 500 traces, meaning I can only upgrade 1 more shadow to general. So with that, that is KAISEL. Now let's talk about TUSK. Now guys, you know, Tusk hasn't been talked about too much recently, but guys, we need to notice that Alicia Blanc is still very meta on the back end. A lot of players, and if you're playing solo leveling your Rise more recently, if you get Alicia Blanc, she will help clear a lot of story content for you guys. So Tusk, honestly, I can see and I can vouch that getting him to general ranking, not a bad idea, not a bad idea at all. I can very much see the vision because now this is an increased damage of 40%. Making Alicia Blanc a total monster. So with that, I probably won't pull the trigger on Tusk for sure until the water meta does get brought back sometime next year. And next, let's talk about Blades. Now Blades is very, very interesting, and Blades is particularly interesting, and everybody's been talking about it. This obtained skill, the terminology here, he's going to increase the critical hit rate of the user for 50% for 10 seconds. Now guys, here's what I'll say. We're using this skill, applies the critical hit rate effect. I don't know if this is to Blades himself or to other team members, right? Because when it says the user, look at this, right? The user hides in a fog and disappears before reappearing above the enemy and slashing down. JINWOO doesn't do this, that's Blades. So I'm pretty sure this is just tacked on for Blades. I don't think JINWOO gets this boost. I don't think any team member that you have in your shadow lineup gets this boost. So really the only thing you're looking at an increase is the attack, and again it's 7%, so it's not bad. Again, I just don't know which one of these three to pull the trigger on. So I have KAISEL, Tusk, and Blades. It's more so looking like KAISEL if I'm being honest, but guys, from there we have the final three and really the bottom three. So three shadows that honestly I feel like you don't need to upgrade too highly. I think these are really just like support shadows. So we have Iron, CERBIE, and a Tank, and in all honesty, I won't talk about them too long. So with Iron specifically, he just gets a new shield, and then the Shadow Authority team members max HP increases by 12%. It's not bad, and maybe eventually when we get DPS HP based units, we can see this being more practical, right? If Akari gets a buff where she's doing higher scaling damage, then maybe you will want to consider doing this. Let's look at CERBIE now. With CERBIE, here's what I'll say. He does get a new move that does do another combustion, but he already has a basic skill that has combustion. So again, this is perfectly up to you. And I could have swore he already has two skills that do combustion, and combustion does not stack. So with that, if combustion stacked, then I would definitely vouch, but combustion does not stack. So there's no real reason to really upgrade him if you guys get the combustion effect. As you can see, I have not upgraded CERBIE past comment. So with that, I wouldn't really recommend it unless you want that critical hit damage increase. Again, I haven't really tested out CERBIE, and I haven't used CERBIE as my main shadow. You can probably see that, right, with the 4% critical hit damage. And last but not least, we have Tank. Again, another shadow I don't really think is too meta. Now here's what I'll say, because this is a pretty high jump from 12% defense increase. So I think Thomas Andre might need that. And really, I'm really disappointed that this Tank overkill mood isn't applied to like the entire team, because increasing defense by 40%, that would instantly make him like a meta shadow. Not gonna lie, Netmarble, you might need to make that move. You might need to make that move, man. But Tank right now, he's like a silent type. I feel like eventually this might be a meta for Thomas, but hey, we'll eventually see as we go on. Now that we talked about all of that though, guys, let's talk shadow lineups. Now, I already comprised my managed team section. So for your boy Sun JINWOO, guys, your shadow lineups will look something like this. So we're gonna have IGRIS as the primary, KAISEL and CERBIE as the sub shadows, and then in many cases, this is gonna be for like the harder content. So if I'm in the red, I'm gonna run something like this. Don't pay attention to the supports though. We're not gonna pay attention to supports, just the shadows. So from there, if I'm gonna use, let's say, magnifying slashes, something of that meta, I'm probably gonna rock something like this. BIGROCK, that's gonna increase the damage of magnifying slashes. Now, if I'm gonna do content where I'm just trying to clear it fast, I'm gonna throw in BERU, and really in some cases, I'm really just gonna try out BERU in my shadow lineup for a lot of content going forward, just to see how much more meta it is for me and just to see where he fits, because really I'm clearing all content with any shadow. So I'm trying to see where the difference is with BERU. Now, as far as the hunter side of things, guys, I literally have the lineups for each and every meta in the game. For your water meta, this is what it's gonna look like. You're gonna have Tusk, Iron, and CERBIE. For your light meta, this is how I personally recommend it to start. So with Akari, Gogan He, and Thomas Andre, it's gonna look something like this. We're gonna have IGRIS, Iron, and CERBIE. You can definitely argue for KAISEL, like I said a little bit earlier. And yeah, from there, let's go ahead and talk about the next meta. This is the win meta. With the win meta, this is where I do implement BERU. I do recommend BERU here because honestly, the debuffs, in all honesty, the debuffs from these team is really insane, right? We're getting something, we're getting punishment, we're getting the defense decrease, and we're getting combustion. On a team with Amami and Mirai, it's just nuking opponent's health, guys. So you definitely have to try this one out for the win team. Win meta is honestly still very relevant with this, I'm not gonna lie. But from there, the dark team units, this is when I do recommend KAISEL, Iron, and CERBIE. And then last but not least, we have the fire team. And in this case, the fire team kind of depends on basic skills a lot more. So I do recommend BIGROCK, Iron, and CERBIE. So with that, you guys notice the sub shadows, right? So Iron and CERBIE for sure should be your sub shadows. And then the primary shadow can change depending on the meta you're using. And I'm not saying that this is the perfect shadows for each and every lineup, but I'm just giving you guys the ideas of how you can combo up your primary shadow. And with that, what do you guys think of the Shadow Army? Go ahead and leave your thoughts, theories, and comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications, and with that, I'll see you guys in the next one. Y'all take care. Peace.